Okay, so we're building this border to make into the tile squares on this page. And I'm showing you now how to build the border. So this is a strip of navy blue that is 2.5 inches wide. And I used the new border dolphin punch. I think it's called, I have it right here, the Dolphin Border Maker cartridge. Um, Really cute, but it cuts the negative out. So it's actually cutting the sky out. So when I cut it with the light blue and I'm building it onto this navy blue piece of strip of paper. So I'm just going to put my dolphins down at the top of this navy blue piece of paper. And it's okay if it doesn't reach the edge, because when I chop up and cut it into my squares for this page, it's actually going to not use the very end. So that is okay to have that very end. And then I need, I am going to pull out one of my older tools that a lot of people haven't used in a while. If you have this is the Deco trimmer, and it'll cut what I call the soft wave and my rockin' and rollin' wave. I like this rockin' and rollin' wave for this particular one because I want to show that these dolphins are actually jumping in a lot of waves. So I actually cut 2 pieces of the sand color paper to make the sand on my little beach here. So I cut one first. And all you have to do is press and roll that blade down. So I cut one out first, and then there's one already cut from the paper. So all I do is pull out my straight trimmer and cut the other side off so that I have the other piece. And I only need a very narrow strip of it, because what I'm gonna do when I put those 2 pieces on top of each other, it actually kind of makes the sand, you can see one piece is on there, and then the other piece, when you put it on top, it kind of goes between the edges. You may want to take a piece of ink or a little sponge with some ink on it, and I might have one here just to show you what I'm talking about. And just give that front one just a little bit of ink on the edge, and that will just give it a little bit of dimension when you put your sand together. So the top one doesn't necessarily need it, but that front one, that way it'll stand out a little bit, because those 2 pieces of sand are the same color. So I put a little tape on the front. Now, all these waves, I'm going to build them together first before I put them onto the blue water down here. So what I'm going to do is just build my sand and then the waves all together. So I have my waves with just a tad of ink so you can see the different dimensions on that. I'm not going to tape it down yet because I want to get that rolling water in there. So I'm just going to do some more of that rocking and rolling wave. Okay, so I'm just going to take a piece of the teal. Actually, it's called an aqua color. I think I have a piece of the dark teal color, and I have a piece of white. And I'm just going to cut them again with that rocking and rolling wave, but I'm going to show you a trick. The way I got them to be different sizes is I put one, and this is a smaller piece that I have. I put the piece of paper into this decorative trimmer at one end down here. And what I try to do is make it so that I'm not cutting at the same spot for the next wave, so that my waves are in different, when I put them down, they're not all going to be in the exact same spot. So for this one, what I'm going to do is, last one I had the paper all over the way at one end. So what I'm going to do is move my paper to the other end, just so that my waves are going to come out in a different spot. So when I overlap them, and you'll see, when you overlap them, they're not exactly in the same spot. You'll see the waves behind each other. And then I'm going to do the same thing with a piece of white. This one we'll do over here. So I'm just really cutting a bunch of waves in the 3 different colors, just one of each wave in the 3 different colors. And then what I'm going to do is overlap them so that they're just coming behind that sand. So what I'm going to do is build behind the sand. So the first one I'm going to do is this light teal color. I'm just going to give it a little tape, and I'm going to put the sand on top of that light teal color. And now what I want to do is make sure that my white is falling behind that light teal color in the right spot. So I just want to have a little bit of that white showing, coming behind those waves. So it's not too much that it's going to overpower. I want just a little, almost like the white caps when you look at the ocean. You know, Jill's been in Florida this year. I'm sure she saw the ocean when she was down there.
That is very true. I saw the Atlantic and the Gulf this time.
Oh, very cool. I just got back from Cape May, so I'm feeling very like beach. That's why I wanted to really work on this page tonight. Okay, and then the last piece is my dark teal, and my piece was a little shorter. So now what I'm going to do is just make sure that this one is just behind that white, and I want to make sure that I'm seeing it. So I'm going to just move it back and forth so that pieces of that dark blue are showing behind the white piece. So you have your 3 different colors coming out. And then what I'm going to do is tape this onto that dark blue border. You know what? I want to move this one piece over, this dark teal, because I do want to start from the end. So we're going to try to get it right on the end. Here we go. Just going to show a little bit more of that dark blue. And then what I'm going to do is put it on the piece that's 2.5 inches. I'm just taping it down onto my dolphin piece. And you can see the dark blue waves are overlapping a little bit of where the dolphin piece is, but that's okay because it's going to look like the dolphins are leaping out of the water and the dark blue water is a little behind. If you feel like it's a little too much overlapping, you can just pull this back off and move that piece of dark blue down just a little bit so that less is showing. And it's really up to you how much you want showing of each color. Okay, and then again, put it back on. And I'm just making sure it's on the edge of that 2.5 inch strip of dark blue. You can barely see the dark blue except for the dolphins right now. And because this is 2.5 inches wide, what I'm going to do is cut it into 2.5 inch squares. So now all I'm going to do is put it into my trimmer at the 2.5 inch mark, and it's pretty thick. Remember, it's pretty thick because it's got a lot of layers. So again, I want to press down. So I have a 2.5 inch square now, and I'm going to cut 4 of those. So I'm just going to move it over to the 2.5 inch mark. Cut the next one. Did it go through? Oops. Remember, it's really thick, so you want to make sure you press so you get it through. So I have the second one. You can see my dolphins are in different spots, which makes it really a very cool trick when you start layering these different pieces. Now you notice that my next dolphin was cut off a little bit. I'm going to actually cut a 1/2 inch off and just get rid of him because I'm cutting actually 4 boxes. I don't need more than the 4. So, and I have a little extra of space. So what I'm going to do is just cut off that one dolphin that's kind of half a dolphin. And that way he's out of the way. Whoops, I didn't cut through. I got to press a little harder because I really don't need him. And that way the next dolphin that's in my lineup here will come through in that 2.5 inch square. He'll still be in my box. There we go. And then the last one, we're going to do 2.5 inches. One more time. So you can see there's my 4 squares of my dolphin border that I made the border, but I just cut it into squares. And you can do this with any border. You can do it with mountains. You can do it with, let's see, you can do it with a horse theme, you know, any of the punches we have or border maker cartridges you can use. I just saw somebody did it with some waves and a sun in one of them. So you really can do anything. Do it with other fish that they've had as borders. So now what I'm going to do is mat each one of these squares, and I'm going to use a piece of white. I cut this at 2 3/4 inch. So what I'm going to do is now make squares of 2 3/4 inches. So all I do is measure 2 3/4 and cut that square. So I need 4 of them. So yeah, whatever your favorite borders are, if you have Christmas trees, this looks really cool with some Christmas trees. I'll probably do this idea over and over because I just really thought it was a cool idea. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take your background square and you're going to put your piece of border on it, and just so that it's matted with that white paper. And just make sure each of your layers, because we cut it in between your pieces of tape that you use to tape down those layers, just make sure all the layers are taped down. Because I noticed when I pull it up, I know I put tape all along it, but there's certain spots that don't have tape. So you just want to make sure all your layers of sand and water are all taped down in place. And then just put a little tape behind each square so that it's on the mat of white. So like I said, I'm just building my my squares. And the last one. Okay. Now, one of the things that I do to do the background of this page, I made a frame. I just put the square of the tan color paper in the center of the blue, but you can also take your like a solid piece of navy and just cut it into a frame and put it on top of your tan piece of paper. Either way, I'm going to quick show you how to do a frame. A bunch of people are asking at the last crop I went to, they hadn't seen that before. So I just want to show you one more time. With your trimmer, what you're going to do is you're going to use, and those are all my blades, the trimmers store all the blades underneath. I use these binder clips and I just store them on the back of my trimmer. Now to do this, and I'm just checking what my sizing is, I'm going to cut it about 1.5 inches around the outside of this page. And it's all I'm doing is kind of gutting a square out of the center of my border so that I can put it on top of another piece of paper. So I'm going to take my dark blue, this is actually navy blue. I'm going to put it at 1.5 inches. So it's at the 1.5 inch mark over here. I'm going to move my housing blade down so that it's this white line on the side. That's where your trimmer actually starts cutting, at that white line. Know that white line and the end of the housing is 1 inch. There's a 1 inch measurement there. So I want to move that white line to the 1.5 inch mark. And there is a ruler along this arm that holds your paper down. But it's hard to see the ruler once this box with the blade is over top of it. So if I want to go move the blade to 1.5 inches, the edge of the box will move down to the 2.5 inch mark. So just move that to the 2.5 inch mark, the corner of this box, and put your binder clip on the rail behind the box. So that way it cannot go backwards further than that binder clip because it's stopping the box. And then you're going to move your blade down without cutting. You're going to move it down, and I want it to stop at 10.5 inches. So I'm going to move the edge of the box to 11.5. I'm adding an inch to that measurement, and I'm putting a binder clip behind it. So now that blade can't move beyond the binder clip, and it can't move on top of the binder clip. So when I put my paper in, I put it in at 1.5 inches. I know I'm cutting from 1.5 inches down to the 10.5 inch mark. And I'm going to do that on each side. And that will cut out the perfect square in the center of my page. And I've already got the measurements done because I have held on to that measurement on my board by putting those binder clips in place. So I'm just turning it, I'm putting each side down at that 1.5 inch mark and just cutting between the binder clips. And then when I pull it out, I have my frame, and I can use this middle piece for something else. And I have the navy frame ready for my page. I can take my leftover piece of tan paper. Is it going to fit? Oh, it just makes it. So all I have to do now is just put some tape on the top and on the bottom. This is my leftover piece of tan paper that I used for the sand. And I'm just going to tape this down on top of that sand color. So there's the outside of my page. And then all I'm going to do is add my dolphin squares. I'm just going to put a little tape underneath these. And then I'm just going to tape on my squares. So we'll put one this way. One. So let's do it this way. We'll move him up. We'll start at the end. And all I'm doing is putting my 4 squares of that border onto my page. And you could actually do the same thing with some of your pictures. Here we go. This one can probably come up a little bit. Isn't that a cute page?